Chris and all, welcome to the Fearless and Devotion podcast, sponsored by. I don't know. Does anyone on this Zoom meeting know a good eating establishment in Wrexham?
An
Anyone?
establishment. I think
Rich, maybe.
There's a silent assassin in the room who can tell us all about.
Yes, it's sponsored by me actually, and so yes, which I assume I'm actually waiting for negotiations for next season to kick in. Actually, now we're a league club, I fear what the new set of demands is going to be from the Fearless in Devotion podcast. But yes, the Fat Boar is the proud sponsor of this podcast.
Well, we want 5.5 million over 2 years, and I actually thought you were going to say bar cooch. So it's a bit different from that. On a side note, I really hate that word. I mean, I want to go on record and say how much I hate that word. It's like a quaint-sounding pseudo-Welsh word that the English use to patronise us. Let's phase that word out. Right. Another thing before we get started. You may have been expecting Dean Saunders this week. Now that's partly down to an editing error that basically Reese is turning more and more partridge by the week, and he's currently on a canal barge somewhere. And I don't know if it's business, I don't know if it's pleasure, I don't know if someone's going to throw a cow on him. But he's Saunders needs a lot of editing because it's great, but it's very bitty, and neither me or Liam have that skill. So we're going to leave it a week, and we're just going to bring you all the news, bring you up to date with it. So first thing I think we need to talk about, I think probably Ben Foster. Tim, are you happy?
Yeah, got to be happy with him, you really. I was surprised it's taken this long to announce, because he said as much that he'd made his decision before the end of the season. So whether it was all part of Rising Week, which we've all got our opinion
back into Rising Week.
No, I mean, it's a really good sign, isn't it? I mean, on his days, he's going to be by far and away the best keeper in that division. I had the temerity to sort of tweet out a couple of days ago, how would you judge Foster's performances over those 8 games, and sort of marks out of 10, and a lot of people were kind of if you take the Notts County save and all that out of it and stuff, which is hard to do really, but a lot of people were saying that he was always going to be a little bit sketchy to begin with when you've been out of the game for that length of time. But a lot of people pointed to his influence in the dressing room and his character, and that being a big part of proceedings and that winning mentality. So, you know what? If nothing else alone, bringing that winning mentality and that high level experience to a team that's going to want to aim for more success this season is invaluable. And he's the preferred number one according to a Twitter poll as well. He's a preferred number one. But there's plenty of experience for the plenty of cup competitions that we're going to be involved in. So yeah, happy with Foster. I think that'll be it then. He'll do his year, and I think that'll be it.
Liam, do you think he'll play every game?
Yeah, I hope so. Certainly didn't see anything to suggest that he couldn't. I know a lot of people were saying about, he's got his media commitments, but he already seems quite capable at fitting those around. He's got Fozcast, he's got his thing where he plays a bit of golf. I'm more than happy.
I mean, I still do five-a-side football on a Wednesday, and I've got a list going on.
Are you a top division player as well?
Yeah, I am. Yeah. A left back with nicer goal, I've been called.
I liked how Tim's Twitter poll was minus that pivotal season-defining moment, though. Other than the Notts County save, what has Ben Foster ever done for us?
Yeah. Right. We need to ask. If we're going to ask about keepers, we need to ask Chris Maxwell, don't we? Former Wrexham number one.
Are you rejoining us, Chris?
Oh, hang on. Is it? Oh, it's not the right one. Chris, we're going to ask you anyway. Pleased with Foster, or would you have gone for someone younger, someone who could sort of grow with the team a little bit?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me back on. And yeah, you've booked the wrong guest. I am not the former goalkeeper, but I'm here now anyway, so you'll have to go with it. I'm really pleased with the re-signing. I think obviously he's proved he's still got it. And as Tim said, he had that sort of influence in the dressing room and really galvanised things. But also good continuity going into next season as well. I think we don't want to shake things up too much when we've won the division below by a country mile. from us in Notts County at least. There's not a lot that needs ripping up about the squad or changing for now. But what I would say is that Foster's 40, isn't he? Just turned 40. Mark Howard, who's had a year contract extension, is going to be 37, I think, at some point this season. So we've got two goalkeepers in the twilight of their career, to say the least. So I think it would be nice to see if we could get a younger goalkeeper in, even perhaps to overlap for a season and have that experience of being with someone as experienced as Ben Foster, because for the longer term, neither Ben Foster nor Mark Howard are our long-term goalkeeper, are they? So that's my thought.
Yeah, interesting. What does this mean for Rob Layton, Rich? Do you think he'll be happy being number 2?
No. And I might be in the minority, but I still think he's the best goalkeeper at the club when he's fit. But I think the issue is now it's not his ability that's in question now after the last couple of years. It's his sustainability, isn't it? After that Sheffield United game away, the clamour for him to get back in the team from everybody was because we can all see with our own eyes that a fit Rob Layton was still last season, I think, the best goalkeeper in the league. I think would be a huge asset in the next division up. No issues with that. But it's whether his body is capable. And I guess now with the signing of Ben on another 12 months, whether we ever get the chance to see that in a Wrexham shirt, whether his body can, get through the rigours of a full season. Because I don't think Ben Foster signs to sit on the bench.
No, he doesn't. Maybe Rob Layton should sign for Bromley. That seemed to always go well for him.
Not on a pay-as-you-play deal.
Look, what I would say about Foster is, I think he had good performances, he had bad performances. I think people point to the Halifax a lot, but we forget about Barnett. And Barnett, he was absolutely superb, and he got us that point. I think he needs a good preseason behind him. I think he'll get one because, at the end of the day, he came in, he'd been riding his bike for 9 months. He comes in and he's not going to be up to the level straight away. But by the end of it, when we needed him, when we absolutely needed him to come through for us, he did. I also think it's quite hard for a keeper at that level to come into the National League because it's so rough and tumble. It's different to the sort of the play that he would have been used to at Premier League and Championship level. So I think really and truly he needed a little bit of time to get his bearings. So I'm pleased with the signings. There's been another big announcement this week, Tim, and I know you are our resident kit expert, and I am going to just try and share the screen now so we can all see this shirt.
This is dangerous.
Yeah. I had the button.
Where's this going? Put it in incognito mode, Andy.
Right, can we see that?
Hey, there we are.
Yes, take us through this beauty, Tim. First off, max out of 10.
7.
Oh, okay.
7.
What's wrong with it
then? That weird V cut. I described it the other day. It's like, when you're involved in a car accident and the ambulance start cutting your clothes off. It's like they've started and then just given up after. Oh, he's all right. He's alive. But I don't understand. Apparently, it's called is it a bar stick or bar? I don't get that bit. But look, there's only so much you can do with a shirt over X amount of decades, isn't it? It's a nice looking, clean looking kit. I like the sublimated dragons that go through all the way of the shirt. It's not just the chest. Closer pictures are going all the way through. A couple of people have said that the white sleeves are a little bit longer than maybe they could have been.
Yeah.
It harks back to, I think it was 97, 98 kit off the top of my head that I did a piece the other day, the sort of NK Sports one. So it's nice. It's solid. Vista Prince where it should be on the back. There's a lot of weird sort of, it's disgraceful because it'll get confusing. Man United, first Stoke, now Man United. If you're a Liverpool fan, I could if you're a Liverpool supporting Wrexham fan, I could understand a little bit why you'd feel aggrieved of wearing a shirt with United written on it. And people are saying, why didn't they have United Airlines? Well, they changed their brand. They're not going to change their branding and have airlines written on it just to put a few out of joint noses back into place. So I think on the whole, it's a nice, clean looking kit. I'm excited for the other two, if I'm honest, because I've pre-ordered the black one blind because, like, we're long overdue black kit. The white shirt is looking quite neat and tidy from what we gather as well. So yeah, solid, and the overwhelming sort of replies to it have been pretty favourable. A couple of people said that they just couldn't really work out what the deal was with the collar split, but it's just Macron being quirky, isn't it?
Yeah. Chris, what do you reckon? Marks out of 10?
Yeah, I'd agree with the 7. Was it just me when they released the very first picture of it on social media? It was almost like that collar bit was almost like someone had photoshopped over it, and everybody was going, "What's going on there with that? That's a really weird looking collar." And then the next picture came out, and you saw that split collar. So why that had to be censored on the first picture, I don't know. But I agree. I don't love the collar, and I don't love the extended white bands on it. But I will be logging on to pre-order mine tomorrow. I think, last season I didn't buy the home shirt because I really didn't like that Vista print on the sleeve, which looked like a health warning on the side of a fag packet, and just really spoilt the shirt for me. But Vista print don't have a bad logo, so it's good that it's moved to the back and it looks loads better now. So now that they've got rid of that sort of sleeve monstrosity, I'll definitely be going for it. And I agree with Tim. I'd like to see what the second and third shirts look like, because perhaps they'll have a different color. So, but yeah, I will be buying.
Liam, you're a well-known Man United fan. This must be the perfect Wrexham shirt for you.
As a child growing up, I was, but but I do actually think there's some truth in the fact that people are saying it's mostly Wrexham supporting Liverpool fans who are annoyed by it, because it could refer to any United. Why is it Man United? Why is it not Newcastle United or any other
Sutton United?
Exactly, yeah. There might be Wrexham fans who hate Sutton United. Oh, right. Look, my point with that though is, I mean, if you can't differentiate between an airline and a football club in the Premier League, then you're probably beyond help anyway. So that's my very, very fair and understanding take on it.
Let's be honest, right? It's the world's biggest airline. Is that right?
Yep.
We are trying to do the whole global name thing. We're getting into America. We're making big steps into America. What better way than to shift unit after unit after unit of Wrexham shirts in America than sticking something that they can identify with? Our American fan base can go, wow, it's a Wrexham shirt, but I can now identify with something that I know about anyway, that I've used several times, So it's a shrewd move, and the marketing video was quality. So yeah.
Liam, just before we go on to Rich, what was your marks out of 10?
I would say 7.5. I think after didn't really like the original image of it. It's got a bit better after I've seen the sort of high res ones. I'm still on the fence whether to wait and see what the others look like before committing to buying. But I was just disappointed that Rich got priced out of the market in terms of the sponsorship, to be honest.
I did forget about the sublimated Wrexham in Welsh as well on the back, which is a very nice touch.
Oh. Rich, could you put a sleeve on that for the fat ball? Would you?
I mean, I could. I couldn't afford to, but I could definitely do it. I think the days of them needing anything from the likes of myself are long gone. And solid 8 from me. I think sponsorship wise, I mean, the amount they must have paid for that will dwarf anybody else in our league. If they want to stick United with a little logo on the badge, then on the shirt, then good on them. No issues with that at all. I think it's a really nice kit. It will sell in the bucket loads anyway, regardless of what people think. We'll sell a lot of them. I guess as a parent, my only slight gripe is the price for the kids, which I know I've seen a few people make comments on over the weekend on social media that it's about 80 odd quid, I believe.
Wow, is that for a full kit, Rich?
Yeah, because you pre-ordered. I'll be on to sort of give exact numbers because I can't remember, but I did pre-order the kit. Yeah, I pre-ordered a home away and a third kit for my lad. Yeah. So would I now have to pay extra to add the shorts? an extra 20 quid for the shorts, and I think you've got to add extra then for the socks as well, when generally, most people sort of under, I think sort of up to the age of 5 or 6, you can certainly usually pick up a full kit for sort of 45 quid. It's a bit more. But I guess how I look at it is, if we win promotion and we bring in some of the players we bring in, etc., it's all going to be paid for. But I get you're kind of thinking, well, with the sums of monies that, say, like the United Airlines bring in, do we need to be charging 75, 80 quid for a kit for somebody under 6? I think you'd have to say no, you don't.
Yeah. So I'm just looking now. There's one of the tweets under the official one says, "Nice kit, but a kid's." This is from Henry Jones, actually, friend of the pod. Kids shirt have gone up from 37.50 to 47.95, 28% increase. That does sound a lot, and I know what you mean. It's like you can't just buy a shirt for a kid because they want the whole thing. And so the thing is, Americans especially are used to paying top dollar for their merchandise, and if this is aiming towards that market, they won't even, this won't even be a ripple for them. They'll just buy it. For us, it seems a lot, and I think, I'll give it a 7 as well. I think it's not my favorite kit the last couple of years, and the collar is a little bit weird. I've just been looking at the United Airlines logo, and that's exactly what they have on there. I just thought the white thing was a little bit strange, like the square and then a circle within it. I wondered if it would have looked just better with just the sort of the globe, but that's not how they have their logo. We can't change it to be to look a bit more
just
streamlined on a shirt.
Just picking up on the pricing point, I can't remember who said it on Twitter. Somebody mentioned that Macron, obviously the supply Crystal Palace and Nottingham Forest last year, they did a stock full kids kit 45 quid, which is pretty decent.
Yeah.
So the question, quite rightly, has been asked, well, if that's 45 quid and it's by the same supplier, same kit maker, why can't it be that price for this? So, it's something that will rumble on to a certain extent, and then it's just down to whether you choose to want to pay it or not. And as a if you're a parent, it's difficult to say no to your kid when they see it, isn't it? So yeah, it's a tough one.
I remember something when the trust owned the club. There was a bit of a rumbling one season about kids' kits then as well. And I can't remember if it was maybe 3-4 years ago. And then in the end, they kind of dropped them by about 10-15 quid. And it was just that. It was just that age bracket that you just think, and listen, I'm sort of being pretty selfish because I've got sort of 2 kids that fall into that, absolutely into that age bracket, who would usually have the full kit, with the shorts and like I tweeted, I'm probably looking at the moment to kit both of them out with all 3 kits. I think it's like 485 or 495 quid I was looking at. Which, that's some people might say, well, it is what it is, but
you need to sell more burgers, mate.
Yeah. The match day burger next season's 20 quid, and everybody's got to be okay with that. So, it just feels a lot. It just feels a lot, doesn't it? And I get it. Some people haven't got kids, and absolutely why they bang within their rights to say, well, who cares? It's the price you have to pay. I just think if you compare the fact that you can pick up, any other team, you would suggest, throughout the leagues a bit cheaper, then it does just seem a little on the high side.
At what point is enough is enough? Because I know it's one for the future now, but when you see the likes of Arsenal, Man United, and then the new shirt comes out, and like a standard shirt is 80 quid, or you can get a player issue style shirt for 100 quid. It's like, that's mental to me for a football shirt. Like I think anything above 40, 45 is still touching on being slightly crazy, but I think 50, 55 top whack. I think anything above that, unless it's like a one-off, because I'm surprised we never made a promotion champions one-off shirt. That kind of surprised me a bit. But then, people would say, oh, well, they're ripping off fans by doing that, then releasing 3 new shirts. So it depends on your perception.
Yeah, I think the time. Yeah.
What? But how much? If you had to pay for a Wrexham shirt tomorrow, how much is too much for you to just buy the shirt?
So you're saying how much would I pay for I wouldn't pay more than 55 quid for a Wrexham shirt.
Yeah.
That's my sort of level, really, because it is walking advertising at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You are sort of helping the club and the business by wearing it. I was going to say you should get like a subsidy for doing that, but there is that element to it. I pined back for my first football kit. My mum took me to Stuart Mason's in town. I wanted a Liverpool kit because I was 7. Now I wanted a Liverpool kit because I was 7. She negotiated with Stuart Mason. I don't know if it was Stuart Mason himself. Well, it could have been one of his workers. That to get me a plain red T-shirt and iron on a badge, and I had to go to school with that the next day.
Were you bullied?
Did not go well. They did not.
Life
go
in
well.
1965 for you there. A little insight.
There I was in my Dunlop trainers with my ironed-on Liverpool badge. Right.
That's tragic.
Andy the Pennick Pauper. Wow, what insight.
Before we go on, let's just quickly name our favourite ever Wrexham kit. I'll go first. I like that white ENS one. Tim, tell me the date. Was it 92, 93?
The white, which white ENS? Has been plenty.
The one, okay, no, I'll tell you what, it's not that one. I think it's the 97, 98. The one where Rooster scored against West Ham with it, with the
with a little sort of dog collar one. Yeah, that was 96, 97, I think.
That's my favourite. And I didn't get that. Yeah, you couldn't get that from Stuart Mason's.
It's clean shirt, clean shirt. Mine's 92, 93. Red, first ever one I ever had with the old little checkboard collar, grandad push button neck, lovely. Wrexham lager.
Chris, I've heard that yours is the high-tech one from the 80s that didn't even have a Wrexham badge.
I'm just hearing from your mum that you're not getting the new shirt that's just come out. She's had a word with Stuart Mason and she's just going to cut last season's in the collar there, and then
Can you stop talking to my mum behind my back, please?
My favourite Wrexham shirt, maybe controversially, is not a red shirt. I just really like the Wrexham Lager can coloured shirt from, was in 97? Was it 97-ish?
Yeah, nice. Yeah, that was 97.
Of which, I guess, last season's third strip was a sort of hint towards Pep's. And I thought I still had it. I had it for years and years and years, and I went looking for it, and I think I gave it away in a charity appeal when they were.
Do you want me to get it? Do you want me to get it from upstairs to show it off?
I thought you meant you've got mine somehow, the magic, but yeah.
I think you did mean that.
Yeah, go on, make me cry by showing me the fact that you've still got yours. But that's my.
I will go and get it now.
I love that shirt.
While Tim's exiting stage left, Rich, what was yours?
I think I'll probably say the LDV shirt that we won.
Wow.
The Finding. And I'm doing it to toe the party line so that Don, as he was the sponsor then, he'll be happy with me then. So I'll say the Just Go shirt from the LDV finals.
Rich, you're a company man to the end. Liam?
I'll just say to Rich about Don. I mean, the last time he was on, he did call you a kebab serving merchant or words.
He did, he did. And can I say what was? You know what? Genuinely, the next home game, I had people who I didn't know coming up to me and saying, "I hope we disagree with what Mr. Bircham said. We really appreciate you serving kebab." So that made me feel good about myself. And I'd like to thank the people who came up to me to support me in my kebab industry. So thank you.
Well, you're at the coalface, aren't you, mate? So
Absolutely, mate.
So my favourite one is I'll have to go for one that I've actually worn. So I'll go for the first time we had Adidas back. I think it was the one we wore for the LDV, not the LDV final, the FA Trophy final, for the Grimsby final. I really like that one. Really like the tone of red. And Tim is now doing a big reveal of a shirt behind his head. Don't know what.
I was trying to hang it off the back of my my chair and ceremoniously. It was going really bad. So
I got Chris Maxwell, age 11, on the label on the back.
CM, CM something. Yeah, that size 42, 44 chest, but it's absolutely massive. Classic Football League badges on it. Welsh Cup winners, 1995. Cheeky, very cheeky.
Very nice.
So we just talked about the Dom podcast then. We had a pretty good one last week, Brian Flynn. Now, I was like, me and Liam did it, fair play to him, 1.5 hours of his time, absolutely free with it. His memory was absolutely brilliant, and he remembered stuff that I couldn't. One thing that did sort of put the cat amongst the pigeons was Flynn versus Marriott. Has Marriott had a bit of a... Go on, Rich. Has Marriott had a bit of a doing there?
I thought it was a great podcast. Listened to it and came away and thought Brian Flynn hates Andy Marriott. That's that was my take on it, really, because when you did his team and he named it and kind of went back to it, and then with the greatest respect for the goalkeepers that he then sort of named as potential other goalkeepers who could have been in there instead of Andy Marriott, you kind of thought, no, I'm not sure about this. You haven't really named anybody that any of us would say that was anywhere near Andy Marriott's standard. So, it was an odd one, unique, quirky, great for the pod. I think that was a very honest assessment. But I'd heard him before at the My Squin actually completely blame Andy Marriott for the goal at Chesterfield. So I'd heard that before, and then on the podcast, I thought it was great listening, but remarkable that a goalkeeper that most of us have all sort of on this podcast have grown up knowing as essentially Wrexham's number one, and then probably spent the next 10 years wondering when's the next Andy Marriott coming. So it was remarkable, I thought.
We've got to try and get Marriott on, A, because he's my favourite player, and B, to give him the chance, the right to reply, because I couldn't believe it, because I listened to it on the way down to my cousin's wedding the other day, and it was all like, he's got a lovely story, he's got such a nice demeanour about him, and like a nice granddad, isn't he? And then boom, he bottled it. It's like, Jesus Christ, Flinny. Then he crashed the car. He was literally like character assassination. I couldn't believe it. I wonder if there's more to it.
I'm about to ask Chris this, our resident expert on keepers. Do you think that's Marriott's sort of talent, or is it something that's happened behind the scenes there that is sort of clouding Flinny's memory here?
Well, first of all, I'm going to hold my hands up and say I haven't actually listened to that podcast yet. I'm going on holiday next week, and I'm
nice one, Chris. Thank you very much.
So you're giving me spoilers. You're giving me spoilers here, but
act surprised.
Brian Flynn, a very competitive animal, and that was an opportunity to get to an FA Cup semi-final. So it obviously still cuts deep. But surely it was half Darren Brace's fault, wasn't it?
Not according to Flinny.
Not according to Flinny.
No. No, that was Marriott's fault. Can I just say I have joined LinkedIn especially just to track down Andy Marriott, who I'm told sells Bentleys in London. So I'm going to go to each Bentley car dealership and walk in like this until I find the great man. Or
do you want to borrow the goalkeeping shirt so you'll be able to pick you out straight away?
I'm going to dress as Darren Brace and see if he comes in and lamps me. Or Flinny. But come on, Liam. Marriott was everyone's favourite keeper, isn't he? I mean, apart from Foster, maybe, or certainly not Scott Shearer. Is there anyone who comes close to Marriott and what he did for us and how good he was at saving things? Sorry. Shot stopping is what I meant. Because saving things seems a very simplistic way to sum up a keeper.
You make him sound like Martin Lewis, don't you? Money saving expert Andy Marriott. When Marriott was there, it was sort of just before my time supporting the club, but I knew who he was already. I'd seen him, enough times on the telly, knew he was a superb keeper. So it was, for me, it was just the fact that when Flynn was saying, oh, no, not Andy Marriott, and then he was going through the list of names, and I don't think he really settled on one, did he? Because he was like, he goes, oh, Dearden, he was a bit tubby, wasn't he? And then I brought back memories of when I saw him in the Welsh Premier Cup during half-time. One Dearden went over to a kid with a bag of sweets and literally nicked sweets off a kid.
I remember once in Collier's Park when I was trying to interview Flinny, there was a commotion upstairs, and it was Joey trying to hide a biscuit tin from Dearden.
Yeah, I think in summary, you'd be hard. You would be hard pressed to argue for anyone else from the Flynn era, though, wouldn't you? I think, but it's interesting insight, though. Just something I don't think any of us were quite expecting to crop up.
Now, Chris, remember our Dearden story, or was it from Luton away?
I was just didn't know whether you wanted to broach that or not, but yeah,
Oh,
we
he
were.
doesn't listen. Carry on.
It was October 2000, and we went to Kenilworth Road. It was a league game, and Wrexham were 3-0 down with about half an hour to go and won 4-3. It's one of my favourite away days. But afterwards, we were in the pub by the ground, and Andy was holding court with a pint and saying, "Oh, you know, one of the best games I've ever seen, amazing comeback." But Dearden was rubbish, and he was like, he just started tearing into Dearden, and then turned around, and was it Dearden's his wife or
and his mum?
His mum. You're right.
His mum and his wife.
So you're not very popular in the Dearden household, are you, Andy?
Did they say anything to you?
They give me dagger stares, and we sort of moved on a little bit. I think Dearden's coach at Luton now, isn't he?
He is goalkeeping coach, yeah.
Oh, fair play to him. He's like Valero. I mean, Christ Almighty.
I know, yeah, it's so weird.
Michael Ingham will be managing Juventus next. Right. Let's tie this up a little bit. But before we do that, let's do some logistics. Now, I'm trying to go across for the North Carolina game. I've got tickets. I'm hoping that there's going to be a fourth game on the East Coast. And I know, Tim, that you're looking into this as well. When are we going to get told? Do you think it's still going to happen, mate?
They're leaving it pretty late. I mean, it was the 28th of July was the one they've earmarked it for. And reading between the lines and a few of the things, it all suggests that it will be Philadelphia Union, which was the initial first announcement we had, and COVID curtailed it. That didn't happen. So it would be almost 2 years to the day that it was scheduled to happen. And for whatever reason, it hasn't really been finalized, and I can't figure it out. And it's kind of getting to the point now where just let us know if sometimes an update saying that there is no update is an update. Just tell us that, because I've been looking at flights.
They're still thinking about it, yeah.
Yeah, well, the flight prices are fluctuating up and down, up and down, up and down, and you've got to look into the fact of your accommodation, everything else is not cheap. You want to get it sorted sooner rather than later. And yes, it's what, 6 weeks away. It's not that long. But there's also I've heard a few rumors that potentially they might. If it doesn't happen, there might be a home game, because obviously there was clamour for a home friendly as well.
Yeah,
just need to be put in the picture, because I've kind of, if it doesn't happen, then I'm like, oh well, maybe I need to scramble to one of the other games now. And if I scramble to one of the other games, are there tickets left? Is there places to stay left? And it's just a little bit of a faff.
Yeah, I know, and look, we realise that these games are for the American audience. We completely do, but we're Wrexham fans. This is the first time we've ever played over in America, if you take out that 7-a-side tournament. And, we want to be there. I want to be there for one of them. I mean, it would be great to walk into a bar and talk to American-based Wrexham fans. This is what we've all dreamed about as fans. Like, other people are interested in our club. We want to go over. We want to go over there, and we know it's not. These games aren't for us, but we still want to do it.
But call me a traditionalist. I understand why there'd be such a draw of Man United versus Wrexham, Chelsea versus Wrexham, the Galaxy one to a lesser extent. But I want to see Wrexham play an American team in America on American soil. That to me is the most romantic aspect of when we've been to Portugal in pre-season in years gone by to play Lulitano DC. That was ace, because it was like it was uncharted territory. It was an unknown quantity. You never knew what you were going to get. So to pit our wits against a very well-established MLS team excites me, but it's kind of sapping that excitement away because we don't know where we're at with it.
Yeah. Anyone else got anything on this, or should we move on to transfers? I think we're going to move to transfers. Fair enough.
Rich ain't going. He's saving his pennies for the kits.
For the kit, yeah. I mean, actually, the only thing I think as well is, I think the season's starting incredibly early, because isn't it the first weekend in August?
Yeah.
So, if that fourth game is 28th of July, there's talk of, is it? Well, wouldn't we be kicking off sort of 4 or 5 days later?
Yeah.
Which by the time you've travel, jet lag, all that kind of thing. You know, again, we all know why we've got to do it, and it's quite right. You know, the profile, etc., fantastic. But we do need to make sure that we get the absolute best preparation for us going into our first campaign in the second division. And I 4 games in the States, is that the very best preparation? Well, time will tell. But yeah, I think that's the only footnote with it, really, that it's a lot of miles to be getting your legs ready for a game that's kicking off first weekend in August. Yeah,
you know, we don't know, and we might be the Friday night game of this new Sky thing. They'd be interested in us, is all I'm saying. That could be. I mean, I do wonder if there was a little bit of pushback from Parky and the team about timescales. Look, I don't know. I'd love to go, but if it's not happening, it's not the end of the world to me. But it's just the time-wise, it's just getting on a little bit now, and you know, I need to know about flights, really. Right. Anyway. Let's go to our own Jim White, Liam Randall, who has got a rundown of Wrexham transfer targets. The first one, I think, isn't it what Homer Simpson called himself when he renamed himself on The Simpsons?
Can you sing that song for me? That was going to be my intro to the transfer rumours. Can you sing the Max Power song from The Simpsons?
All right, let me find it on YouTube as you well, you've already said who it is, so you sort of ruined it. But
as if humming the Dallas theme tune wasn't enough.
Oh, I was
a personal highlight.
I was 3 feet to the wind there.
That was a Partridge moment, if there ever was one.
We're going to wait for Andy to play this before we go into it.
For those listening on Spotify, this isn't dead air. This is Andy apparently listening to something that none of us can actually hear.
That none of the rest of us can hear.
Oh, what? Right, can you not hear
your
it?
Screen again. Share your screen.
Yeah.
Oh, I've just clicked it off.
Never mind. Go on YouTube and search Max Power Simpsons, because Andy has got all the technical now. So, yeah, I don't know.
Wasn't Max Power the name of a sort of one of those rude boy souped up car magazines?
Oh yeah, no, it was.
Actually,
someone put that on Twitter earlier.
It wasn't. I'll Google that while you keep doing your song.
Right. Hang on.
This is how professional we are on this podcast. Bells and here we go.
Right. As if by magic, God, this is going to need some bloody editing.
Max Power, he's the man whose name you'd love to touch, but you mustn't touch. His name sounds good in your ear, but when you say it, you mustn't fear, 'cause his name can be said by anyone.
Sign him. Just sign him so we can sing that.
I think we'll all agree that this has been a social media and tech masterclass by the man in the chair today, Mr. I'm going to call myself Max Power. I think I should be singing that to myself. Anyway, I don't know anything about him. He used to play for Tranmere. His name's Max Power.
He plays for Wigan these days. Predominantly plays as a midfielder, but can also play right back, which I'm sure Parky will like, because he likes players that can. Yeah. But I think he's also played under Parkinson during his time at Sunderland. He's been described as more your sort of Jay Harris midfielder, likes to get stuck in, bit scrappy, good on set pieces. I mean, I don't want to say this because I don't know what he's like in comparison to Luke Young, but some people have suggested he could be potentially an upgrade on that player. But yeah, we will see on that front.
Can I bring you a golden nugget of Max Power information? Sorry to interrupt.
Go on.
God bless Wikipedia. Right. So, Power attended Wirral Grammar School for Boys and is named after his parents' pet Labrador. That is outstanding. He once feared that he was named after Homer Simpson's brief name change in the Simpsons episode Homer to the Max, before discovering that the episode aired when he was 6 years old. He is also a post for a motoring magazine which shares his name. There you go. He's named after the dog. Brilliant.
Wow.
In terms of the sort of logistics of the transfer, I think Wigan are actually, there's some sort of issues at the moment with players not getting paid. So it wouldn't be a surprise to see them letting players go.
The only contract then?
He is, I do believe he's been made an offer. He has been made a new offer by Wigan, but he will be out of contract in the summer.
Right. So, logistically, geographically, it's possible, isn't it? Any others? Anyone heard of anyone else we might be in for? Curtis Main. That seems a strange one. Tim, you know anything about him?
Not really. It's a bit of an odd one. I looked at it as well, and I don't know. Seems to be a bit of legs to it, but yeah, weird. I mean, some people are saying, well, you look at his goal ratio is not amazing, blah de blah, but then somebody said, oh yeah, but he ran Celtic ragged the other week. Well, people can have good games against good opposition occasionally. It doesn't make them world beaters.
Craig Falconbridge once ran Celtic ragged.
It's a weird one, isn't it? I mean, are we looking for another striker? Probably. There's still this weird kind of sort of question mark hanging over Ollie Palmer's head in the world of Wrexham fandom, and I don't really understand that. It just seems to have had a bit of a groundswell of opinion about whether people want him to stay or not. I don't think he's going anywhere. I don't think any of the players are going anywhere. Somebody mentioned Tom O'Connor to Coventry. Again, he's under contract for 2 years. They're not going to want to pay over the odds for a player who probably won't go straight into their squad. So, yeah, the Curtis Main thing I find odd, and I'm just going to say probably won't happen.
Chris, would you be sorry to see O'Connor go? Because I bloody would. And B, where do we need to strengthen? Do we need another right back? We always need right backs.
I'd be very, very sorry to see O'Connor go. I think for a very long period of time, Wrexham fans were talking about not having that midfield answer, and we always felt like it was the missing link and so on. And then we've ended up with Tom O'Connor and also Andy Cannon, who solved that problem. And also, Luke Young played very well until he was sort of out with the team towards the end of the season. But O'Connor can also cover centre half, left back. His set pieces are amazing, and I would assume you would hope we're not a selling club anymore. We've had this down the years where we've had to worry about losing our players at this time of year, but with the things that are going on, United Airlines and so on, do we need the cash? So it might be just down to personally whether the player wanted to go, but I'd be gutted if he went. So to the question about what do we need, I think back to what I said before, it'd be nice to see a young goalkeeper come in that could be somebody for the future, because I got the impression when O'Connor signed that he was going to be somebody who could go with us up the leagues because he's still young, and that's the kind of player Parky likes. Other than that, I think we're certainly decent for starting the season with what we've got, aren't we? I wouldn't say we need to change too much.
Yeah, Rich, remember what Stockport did last season when they went up? They sort of changed the whole team around, didn't they, in pre-season? And I think they really struggled, and I think that cost them in the end. We don't need wholesale changes here, do we? I know we might have a bit more money in our pocket, but surely it's one or two, maybe 3 additions.
Yeah, I think the way the squad's been put together over the last 12 months, well, 2 years actually, but 12 months. That's what we were told. We were told that this squad was put together so that when we went up a league, that meant that we didn't need to spend a lot as we moved up. Now, I think we will spend a lot, but just on very few. So I think maybe 2 or 3 people. I actually think Tom O'Connor, as his official kit sponsor, I would very much like him to stay. But I also think that at the point he got injured, I think you could argue, apart from sort of Paul Mullin, he was almost the most influential player, because once he came into that sort of holding role, that's when we went on that run where we just didn't lose games. And if you'd said at the beginning of the season, when actually Tom O'Connor couldn't get in the team, that he was going to be that influential, I think a lot of people would have thought you were daft. But by the time he sort of went out injured, you literally are going to build a team around that guy. I think he's that good. And I think the rumours, Wrexham FC now clickbait. So you stick Wrexham in so you can get your social media numbers up.
I don't know what you mean. I don't know what you mean at all.
Apparently the Ben. I saw one person said that it was the Ben Tozer rule has come in. It's like no, you're removing towels from out, from throwing, but they called it the Tozer rule, and it's like no, there's a lot of other teams who do the same, But yeah,
I love that. Rich, just going back to that, there was a big piece in the Times about it, calling it a blow to Ryan Reynolds, but having a picture of Ben Tozer in his Cheltenham kit. I went, make your bloody minds up.
Yeah. But for me, I think Tim's right. There seems to be a conversation about strikers. Do I think that that's the one position that they might say, do you know what, we're going to bring in somebody, a superstar? Yeah, potentially. But in fairness to Parky, you can make an argument there is no better manager who understands this league and knows what it takes to get out of it. And so in Parky, we trust, and I'm sure whoever he wants or whatever he thinks he needs with the current setup, I'd expect him to get them.
Yeah, I think striker would be great, and I think there will be a marquee signing. I think there'll be a Mullin level signing there.
Yeah.
And I think left wing back maybe. I don't know if he is looking to maybe upgrade on McFadden. I think Mendy's still got bags of potential, but it would be nice to have like two players there, like you've got with Ford and Barnett on the other side, and maybe another centre half. Who knows?
Did you mention Jacob Mendy then?
Yeah.
Bit of news regarding Jacob Mendy.
Yeah, absolutely. Gambia, isn't it?
First international call-up for Gambia. They got an African Cup of Nations qualifier in Egypt on Wednesday. Do you know what the name of the stadium is, Andy?
Is it the Jacob Mendy Stadium?
No, it's the Suez Canal Authority Stadium.
Oh, the CSCA. I love that.
But yeah, I mean, very well deserved. I think he said this week he was buzzing about it, and just reward really, because I think obviously had a few little injury setbacks, but I think the longer that season went on and the more game time he had, the better he got, stronger he got.
Yeah. Mate, can I say one thing about Mendy?
That goal against Notts County was beautiful.
Can I say one thing about Mendy is he was absolutely crap against Halifax. Like he couldn't trap a bag of cement. And I thought we're going to have trouble here because I don't think McFadden's fit enough to come straight in. But since that game against Notts County, he was fantastic. The other games where we needed him, he was great. And so that's the measure of the fella, that he can come back from a really poor game and be one of our key players towards the end.
Halifax was just a latter season version of the Chesterfield away game. We just had an off day. All of them did. From Foster to Mendy. Jordan Davis came on at Halifax. Look, he'd never played football. They all just had a bad day. And it kind of was soon forgotten about on that Monday, wasn't it? So
has anyone ever met Jacob at 4 a.m. in a takeaway on King Street on the day of a promotion?
Yeah, all the time. Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, there goes my story. Then there goes my classy little anecdote. I'll leave that then for another day.
We've all got our 4 a.m. Jacob and Mendy story, haven't we? So you'd be all the listeners as well. You'd be boring them by telling them about it.
Bested again.
Right. I think we better wrap this up, lads, because we've been rabbiting on. Can I just say before we say our goodbyes, most of the prints are out now, including the Paul Mullin sign prints. Thank you so much. The charity is going to be receiving a big wedge of cash. Thanks to Paul for doing them and you guys for buying them. The fanzine is done and dusted. We've proofread it. Please don't point any typos out to us. If there are any typos, can you go around to Tim's house and tell him? Try and make it 4 a.m. Because that's when he likes to talk about typos. But
I'll make sure Jacob Mendy's having pizza, and then I'll keep him at bay.
So it'll be printed next week, and we should be starting to get them out by a week on Monday. So you will receive your fanzine soon.
It is very much worth the wait, isn't it, Andy? Just tell them how much good content's in it and how many pages, the price, and the exclusives, all of which are ridiculously good.
Yeah, I mean, this is, I don't know where we're going to go from this one. I really don't. It's 56 pages. It's a promotion special. It's got that bespoke picture on the front. It's £3. We've kept everything the same, but given you more content just to celebrate that. There's exclusives with Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney. We've got, to a lesser extent, but no less, Ryan Barnett and Elliot Lee. Lee stuff's really good. We've done a little bit with Saunders. We've got Paul Mullin talking about that day, that goal, the pressure that's been put on him, and how he's dealt with it. Humphrey's in it. Wayne Jones from the Turf is in it. About his worst 11. His worst 11 is by far the most shocking. Mostly because he hasn't even got his tactics right. He's got winners everywhere.
When he's mentioned that. Well, he mentions Andy Marriott and then he mentions the goalkeeping shirt and how he describes him that goalkeeper shirt. I don't think I'm ever going to wear it again.
Yeah, what was it?
Yeah. Well, should we just spoil it?
You have to buy the fanzine to find out, but it's a good little line. Yeah. It's a good little line. It's full of good little lines. Please buy it. I was going to say the profits go to charity, but they don't. They go to us, but we'll probably spend a lot of it on Wrexham-based stuff, charities and so forth. Right. Okay. Thanks so much for your time, gents. Anything else or anything else?
Owen Cushion.
Are you just saying words at me now? No. Barry Toolbox.
No. If he ever does a podcast, he can call it Pillow Talk with Owen Cushion. Yeah. Youth team player, gets his first pro contract, midfielder. Great news for the club. We want to see the younger players coming through. So yeah, let's see what happens. I mean, I think we're going to have a stronger kind of reserve setup next season. There's going to be more competitions. There's going to be more competition for places. So it'll be interesting. As much as I don't like the whole Papa John's trophy, which is my understanding that's a Sean Harvey.
That's his baby. Yeah.
Is it? Right, there we are.
So if no one likes it, blame him.
Yeah, I mean, it always, every time you looked at the Papa John's trophy, it just looked a bit really like Wolves' 5th team are playing Barnsley's 3rd team. It's just a bit weird. But I'd imagine that we'll play a mad hodgepodge of a Wrexham 11, and it might make it quite interesting. So there we are.
Yep, and I like a Papa John's pizza. I think they're probably top 3 pizzas.
I like the way you called it a pizza instead of a pizza. Pizza.
Yeah, well, that's the authentic Italian way to say it. So,
can you say it in an Italian accent? Because that'd be a good one.
No, I mean,
you sound like bootlegger then.
God Almighty, I think you need some emotion.
Richard needs to come in and referee this. It's all gone wrong.
Yeah, well, this is defending.
I would just like to point out, independent restaurants like the Fat Ball also provide pizzas.
On a Wednesday.
Thank you, Tim. Yes, correct, Tim. Well done.
Honestly,
on a Wednesday.
Pizza Club Wednesday, part of the deal we mentioned at the start of the show. Forget Andy's millions. A free pizza Wednesday to an address in some hill.
We've no idea what Tim said there.
Robo Tim says up the Fat Ball.
Yeah.
They're coming off.
Yeah, it sounded like Tim was like Stephen Hawking had jumped into Tim's body and was trying to communicate. But something, I'm not dead. I don't know. Anyway, right, okay. Let's end this on a Stephen Hawking joke by saying goodbye. Goodbye from me. Anyone else?
Up the cushion town. Up the cushions.
Right. Yeah. Thanks very much.
Cheers.
Everything.